Welcome, Justin. Good to have you on the podcast. Thanks so much for joining.
Hey, Andreas, thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited. It's good to catch up.
Yeah, this will be a good conversation. Good to see you again. So
Too.
yeah, usually I start off with letting my guests sort of give a little bit of a description of who they are and the business that they've started, and any other pertinent information that you want to share with the audience. So take that for what you will. A little open
Oh,
ended, I always say, but that's the way I like to do it.
okay, yeah, awesome. So my name's Justin Ray, and I started an e-commerce brand about 7 years ago with a business partner, Jeremiah Klingman. And we grew that brand together, had a team of employees, the works, everything. And then the goal was to sell that brand. And at the end of 2021, we were fortunate to do so and sold that brand. And then I took what I like to say was a mini retirement. And now I've kind of come full circle to where I took a lot of time to study in different investing. And now I've come full circle to starting other brands. But yeah, and unfortunately, like I shared with you just before the podcast, Andreas, just for anyone listening, the NDA that I had to sign with the aggregator that we sold to was oddly just specific in saying I couldn't publicly say the name of the brand that I sold and how much we sold for and things like that, but I can use generalities about the brand, which it was a motorcycle and bicycle accessories brand. We did helmets and backpacks and like helmets for cyclists and you know, like bags for your commuter bike or things like that. So accessories for bicycles, and we had some of the best sellers in the space. And yeah, built that up predominantly on Amazon, and then ended up selling that. And we built that. We had a mid 7-figure exit, and before we sold the company, we were at top line gross revenue of 5 million per year, which I can say that. So that is a little bit of quick background on me. And the reason I think that stuff is important, especially in a business setting, is just because it gives a more full picture of, what's going on. It's kind of like just, a little more background. So,
Awesome. Yeah. So at any point, stop me if I'm asking a question. Feel free to not respond to a question if I can't based on your NDA. But yeah. So you said you started 7 years ago. So I take it you started, pretty young. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but did you sort of start when you were in college or in high school, or how did the journey start? I guess, and maybe speak to your business partner as well, maybe a little bit.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm 31. I look a lot younger than I am. It's
Right.
crazy to say that I'm
Welcome to the
in my
club.
early 30s. It's such a weird thing. Yeah. But it's like, so I sold the brand when I was 29. So just before 30. Um, so yeah, let's see. I started it when I was 23 and it was 2015. And, uh, my business partner was 19 at the time. So he was even younger, and he's kind of like one of those freak genius type of people.
Mm.
He had already been building a brand before that, and he went on to sell that brand also for a 7-figure exit, separate from
Mm.
us selling the brand we had together for a 7-figure exit. So he's a really interesting guy, but that was, yeah, I guess 2015. So it's still kind of in the early Wild West days of Amazon. And we ended up meeting at a network marketing event, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with network marketing, but that's kind of what opened the door to the world of e-commerce for me, ironically.
Hmm. No, actually, I've never heard the term network marketing. Uh, could
Uh,
you explain that, or
yeah. So, okay.
not to put
Do
you
you
on
know
the
the,
spot?
no, absolutely. No, that's fine. Cause I mean, it's a big part of my entrepreneurial journey. So
Hmm.
I actually like talking about it, but network marketing is like when you get it's like commonly referred to as pyramid schemes, even though they're not. But like when you get a call from your buddy and he says, "Hey, I have a business opportunity for you, and this guy is coming to my house to speak. Would you like to come hear it?" And then he like tries to get you to sell knives to your friends and family. Like
Mm.
Cutco is a big one. Mary Kay is a big one. Network marketing for makeup. Amway. Those are some of the big names. Uh, So I don't know if you're familiar with any of those, but
I am,
just
yeah,
know.
yeah. Cutco and Amway, I'm aware. I didn't know they were called
Okay.
network marketing. Yeah, yeah. I just hadn't heard
Yep.
the term. So,
Yep.
but so then
MLM.
how did that,
There's all kinds of names.
right, uh, how did that, I guess, guide you in the beginning, right? You said your business partner was somehow involved with that, and then you, eh, he pulled you into this business venture, or was it the other way around?
How did that? So well, okay. So I went to 2 years of school. That was it.
Mhm,
2 years of college.
mhm,
It was a Bible college in upstate New York. Really small school. It was really good. But after I got out of that, I went back home to work for my family's business, which was real estate. Uh, like essentially all kinds of real estate investing. They would buy homes, sell them. They owned apartment buildings and managed those, managed other people. So they had a property management company. I was working for the property management company and I hated it. Like I was a maintenance guy. So I was like the guy you call in your apartment to go fix somebody's toilet or sink when it's not working or,
right.
just essentially the trades. Cause before that I was in construction. And because I had grown up in that family environment, entrepreneurship and business was always something that was a viable career path and encouraged. But I never really thought of it as entrepreneurship. I just thought of it as working for yourself.
Mhm,
And so, like self-employment, I guess. And so, I kind of always knew that I wanted to work for myself because I liked the freedom that it brought. I just didn't know what vehicle it was going to be. And I didn't really want to stay in the family business. I kind of wanted to do my own thing. So that's when, after college, I was trying to figure out what to do. I was trying tons of different stuff. I bought a foreclosure home, rehabbed it myself. I didn't like that. It was a ton of work, but it was good to get my first real estate property, but it wasn't paying the bills by any means. I was still working full time as a maintenance guy. And
mhm.
then network marketing kind of came into the picture through a friend of my dad's. And my dad was like, "Hey, you should try that. I think you would learn a lot." And network marketing can be a very controversial topic, and so I
Mhm.
think it's hilarious to talk about. But I ended up getting some really good mentors in that business, and I was only in it for 3 or 4 months. The name of the company was ACN, which I can't even remember what it stands for, to be honest. But it they sold like cell phone service, uh,
Okay.
cable services, electricity. They essentially acted as a middleman for selling those kind of like essential home services.
Mhm.
And so it was kind of interesting. In retrospect, I'm not a huge fan of the network marketing business model because I think it's really hard to make a lot of money. But at the same time, the teaching was amazing. So I had great mentors and they really like taught me a lot and they were already successful guys. And so I started leading some of these meetings where you would, invite a bunch of people to your buddy's house, have a living room meeting, and tell people about the business opportunity. Like, have you ever been to one of those?
S of sorts, yeah, yeah. So, I
Okay.
mean, I think
Because
a lot of those events get a bad rap, so I know
they
exactly
do.
where you're coming from, but, it's funny.
Okay.
But hey, man, like, a lot of things that are not status quo, they get a bad rap by default, right?
Yeah,
So it's like if you're not following the traditional path, then they're gonna be looked down upon regardless. So, I mean, I don't
that's true.
if you found value in it, then, I mean, it got you to where you are, right? So 'cause yeah, I guess in general, I'm just very interested in how people arrive at that time of like, okay, I don't want to keep a job and, sort of corporate career and all that stuff. And like the type of person and their upbringing and all the psychological end of like the type of people that end up doing this. So that's why I ask, sort of like
Yeah,
what's the
no.
background and I come from an entrepreneurial family as well, so I get you when you're saying that, but there's other people that are just, you know what I mean, they just don't fit in that box, right? So I'm always trying to figure out what it is that brings people to try, to go out of their comfort zone. So
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I totally understand. I think uh network marketing is great. It just depends on the company you join And I know like some of them actually are Ponzi schemes, but obviously there's a lot of really good ones out there. But anyways, at that meeting is where I actually ended up meeting my now business partner, who we built that brand with. And it was funny because he came to that being invited by somebody, and he ended up getting singled out during the talk, which was really funny. And then I heard what he was doing, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's like everything that I like dreamed of, because he was creating his own products, selling them online. He had remote freedom. He could work from anywhere, and basically infinite scalability.
Mhm.
And so I was just like, after the meeting, which is funny because I'm pitching people on doing this ACN network marketing business opportunity. I talked to him and I was like, hey man, I really love what you're doing. Could I get you lunch and just kind of pick your brain about it? And so we ended up getting lunch, and very naively, which is kind of funny that it actually worked out, ended up forming a business partnership, a temporary one for a year, to where at the end of that year, we could kind of decide what we wanted to do, just to have some sort of clause. We had
Mhm.
enough foresight to have some sort of clause. And that's how we started. And he basically said, hey, I'll teach you everything I know, because at the time his company had just passed 1 million annual in gross revenue, and you do all the work. And so that
And he
was
was
the arrangement.
19 at this point?
He was 19, but
It's crazy.
he was like the type of kid who he was doing eBay arbitrage when he was like
Mm.
12. So when he was like 12 years old, he was making like 30K net income a year, on eBay, like
Mhm.
random, just selling random stuff. And so it was pretty funny because I think our naivety kind of helped us in that scenario, where I was looking for something and ready for an opportunity. And I had tried so many things before that. And then finally, that was the opportunity that hit. So it's just kind of funny how things work out sometimes. You can't always plan it. But that,
So
yeah.
so what would you recommend to somebody that's looking for a business partner, right? Because I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is like you are who you hang out with, right? So it's like you go to networking events, and some of these, I mean, are like we met at CapCon. We met at a networking event that depending where you are in your journey, like is considerable amount of money, right, to go to. But
Yeah.
but it but it's like, okay, do you want to position yourself to meet the type of people that you could potentially do business with and surround yourself by a certain type of person, right? And a lot of that, I guess, is the whole like idea of abundance mindset and all that stuff. But yeah, maybe you have a suggestion to somebody that's looking for a business partner, and how obviously you came about it sort of by happenstance a little bit, but you know, you make fun of the marketing, what you call them again?
Network marketing.
Yeah, you make fun of the network marketing, but that's what positioned you to meet your business partner, right? So it served a purpose, like a very good purpose, right? So
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. But it's like, I don't think I can tell people go join a network marketing company so that you can meet your business partner to do a different business with. I mean, it's just like, it's hard to plan. But I think to answer your question, it's, man, I think two things happen. I think that you really do have to go through a lot of trial and error before you kind of find the business that works for you, because there's so many factors at play. But the one thing that I can say for certain is, like, when you start working on yourself and you start reading books, personal development, things like that, and then you couple that with getting around people that are like-minded, something will eventually come out of that. And that, and I think that's kind of like has to do with being in flow. Like,
mhm.
people talk about being in flow for work. I think that's also true with your career path and generally with life in general. But I think that, as far as choosing a business partner, now I'm much more methodical about it because I know more.
Mhm.
And because I've also had partnerships that did not work out too well in separate business ventures, and just, partnerships with friends that, even if they weren't, the business thing wasn't a failure, it's still very difficult and not fun. And so now I have a lot more wisdom and experience with that. And so I think there are a lot of factors that you should consider with partnering with somebody. And so yeah, I feel like it's kind of two-sided there, but
Mhm.
definitely getting around like-minded people is the first step, you know?
So I guess the consensus is maybe start working on yourself and then surrounded by like-minded individuals, I guess would be the short and
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. Because not every partnership is created equal, right? I mean,
Mhm.
some partners are uh 20 80, some are
Mhm.
30 70, and most people think a partnership is 50 50, but that doesn't always have to be the case. And I think that it's important to consider that when partnering with somebody. Um, and I think like I want one of my friends that I know, I think he said it best. When you're partnering with somebody, it should be for three different things: either funding, operations, or somebody to do strategy. And
Mm.
so those three areas are like the most important to consider, because everything else you can hire out, because your business partner is the most expensive decision you'll ever make. And so when you consider those three things, there's so much to consider about personality, which to me is the most important. Do you like mesh well? Do you get along? On more than just a friendship level, like, can you work
Mhm.
well together? Is that person not difficult? Are they easy to work with? And then most importantly, I think above anything else, is do your skill sets complement each other? Like, so
Mhm.
you're not both trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's a big issue, and I hear it a lot where it's like people that are friends want to be business partners
Yep.
or just maybe they're not friends, but they don't actually stop and think, okay, like you said, do our skills complement each other? Like, and if it's not 50-50, let's say it's whatever, 40-60, well, or 30
Mhm.
or 20-80, like you're saying, it's like, is he serving a purpose that you can't fill, or is he just there to help you do something that could be outsourced, or it could be that you could do if you figured, if you figured your workflow out better, or, so is it value that he or she is bringing to the table? So yeah,
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 absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah. Very, very important.
Yeah. So then afterwards, I guess moving along with the journey, you started working on the product immediately with him, or did you have something in mind? I guess the question is, how did you arrive at the product? How was that part of the journey?
Yeah. So it would, I
Which you
mean,
said it was bike products, correct? So,
yeah, and so his motorcycle and bicycle accessories.
mm.
And what happened was, right after that meeting, we walked outside, and I really like motorcycles. And I had ridden my motorcycle there because at the time I pretty much rode it everywhere. And I, when we walked outside, I said, "Hey, what if we did something like this?" And I had a bike phone mount on my motorcycle, like something that holds your smartphone to the handlebars.
Mhm.
And it wasn't a very good one, and I never really fully trusted it. And I said, "What if we designed our own version and made it better?" And he was kind of like, "Yeah, we'll see, and we'll look into it." And so this was before Jungle Scout existed, or Helium 10, or any of those software tools where you could go on and see how much money somebody was selling for. They were like
Mm.
just around the corner, but not quite there yet, and not quite fully accurate.
Mhm.
And so he knew how to gauge bestsellers rank and everything. And that turned out to be the first product that we launched, and went on to be a multi-million dollar product. So it's kind of funny because it was like, I feel like I feel like you know, God's hand was really on that whole situation, because everything, just after so much struggling in different areas of business, finally worked out in that company. So that was the first product we launched. And then we kind of just slowly started trying different products, and it ended up sticking more with bicycle accessories, even though we also had motorcyclists that were buying from us. So yeah, that was kind of how the brand took shape, and kind of the long and short of it.
So you tried different products, but not different brands. You said once you had that moment where you realized you wanted to do the phone mount, you started sort of changing up different types of products, but not necessarily different brands, right? Like you committed is, I guess, the question.
Well, yeah, we did, but I launched another brand separately. that ended up failing. And then I launched two other brands separately that they actually took off and got sales, but I just didn't quite effectively know how to manage that many brands at the time. I wasn't as advanced in my career as an entrepreneur with hiring people quite yet. So those brands ended up not working out. And but that was me separately. But in that brand that Jeremiah and I had together, we stuck with that brand only, and we only launched products in that brand. And we ended up having a lot of failures after that product, but because that product was so successful, it kind of made up for those.
Interesting. Okay. And yeah, so you built this up with Jeremiah. You were building. Was he working on this full time, or was he also doing other things along the path?
So he was still building his other brand
Mhm.
as well, but he wasn't. He had yeah, he was doing both at the same time actually, and he ended up selling his brand separately from us in 2018, and
Mm,
so that's when he had his first seven-figure exit, and that was then it was full time focus on the brand that we had together.
interesting. So he was working on two brands at the same time. That's have been a lot to juggle.
Yeah, it was, but he definitely with the other brand, he did set it and forget it a little more.
Mm.
They had a lot of traction early on, so he was able to kind of it's still he still was definitely uh, you know, stretched pretty thin running both brands. And I think to this day, like there's a lot of lessons that he takes from that where I can tell he never wants to get that overwhelmed again. So it's kind of interesting
Yeah.
things you learn along the way.
Did you ever have a set it and forget it moment with the brand?
Yeah, absolutely. With with the brand, especially when
Your brand, right? Yeah.
yeah, the brand Jeremiah and I had together, that was my full-time focus. Like once
Hmm.
that took off, and I always did real estate investing on the side once I actually started making some more money from it.
Hmm.
But it there was a period where I was pretty burnt out with it. I think about 2 years in, and I felt like, oh well, like I'm not really doing anything. These products aren't that important. They're not changing people's lives. But then I started getting business coaching and getting my mindset right. And I realized like, no, we did have a lot to contribute and a lot to contribute to the people that worked for us and a lot to contribute for the customers that we served. And as simple as the products were, there were a lot of stories of customers just being really happy with the products that we made and how we serve the customer with customer service and other things. So what happened was I realized like I had to grow and start hiring people. Once we hired the right people, and our team wasn't that big, we had a core team of 6 people, and then we had 3 main subcontracting agencies that took care of a lot of work. But once we got that system in place, um, the business was starting to run itself. And I still had to be involved in the day to day.
Hmm.
Jeremiah and I both did, but it wasn't as much stress and I didn't feel like I was getting pulled in as many different directions. And I did go through a period where some weeks, I was probably only working 15, 20 hours a week on the business and just maybe focused on whatever it may have been that week. Um,
Hmm.
so so there was a period of that. Yeah. And then I went through a really rough breakup in that time. And
Hmm.
I definitely took more time away from the business. And it's kind of interesting as it relates to business partnerships because I feel like you always expect partnerships to be so black and white. Like if I put in an hour, they put in an hour. And there was a period where Jeremiah was so taken up with his other businesses that he was in the process of selling his other business. He was buying some real estate investment properties, and he wasn't putting as much time into the brand that we had. And it kind of bothered me. And I talked to him about it. Like we were always very open with communication and we worked through it. But then later on down the road, when I was going through a really hard personal time, I wasn't as much involved in the business and Jeremiah kind of took over for that time. So it's just like it all kind of equals out in the end, as long as you're very open about communication and you're both working
Hmm.
on the things that you should be working on. So yeah,
That's
it's
It's funny, like, that's what they say about, marriage, like, it's not, 50-50. It's like, if you're having a 20% day, they need to put in an 80% day, and then if they're having a 20% day, you need to put in an 80% day, or vice versa, right? So,
Yeah,
it's a similar situation here, no?
very similar. Absolutely.
That's interesting, that's interesting. I think when we first started chatting, you were saying that, like, the goal was to have more freedom and be in that position to where your business is running itself, right? Because a lot of people think like, oh, I'm going to start a business and then I'm not going to do anything, right? It's going to run itself. But a lot of the times, obviously, it's a lot of work. And um, a lot of times people focus a lot on, how can I say this? I guess on the fact that they're um, needing to put in a lot of time. Um, how can I word that better? Maybe they
Like focused on how overwhelming it is in the moment.
well, no, because the thing is that they wanna have a job where they're not attached to it all the time, but because obviously if you have a business and you're working 60 hours a week, then you're gonna that's basically a job, right? I mean, it's not like
Right.
that much better than a job, right? But then you wanna get to the point of being able to either sell it or get it to where it's just running itself, right? So that's a whole different ball game. So then you can start a different company. So I don't know. My point is, I guess, before jumping into the people, I guess, need to be clear about what they want to be doing with their day and how they want to be spending it, and how they need to, or like what are their goals, and then work backwards. I feel, you know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
guess a question for you would be like, how does that fit in? Like, what was your initial goal there? Like, was it just that freedom, or was it doing something interesting, fulfilling? Where were you heading there?
Yeah, no, I think I totally get what you're saying. Like some people get into it thinking, "Oh, I'll start this online business and I'll have this lifestyle business where I can work
Mm,
only when I want and play when I want." And
exactly.
yeah, and they don't realize how much upfront work it takes. Yeah, totally. It's so funny because like that doesn't exist. You do actually have to enjoy what you're doing, and it usually takes a lot of hard upfront work. So it's like very deceptive to say that there were periods of time with the company that I did kind of have it on autopilot, but it took a lot of work to get there, you know? So
Hmm.
it's like you're kind of only seeing the tip of the iceberg. Um, and it's all worth it, absolutely.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I guess my strategy going into it was like I wanted to work hard and I wanted to have big goals and big dreams and ambitions. Like I was
Hmm.
never the guy that was like, "Hey, as long as I consistently make enough to cover my bills and travel, I'm happy." Like I wanted to make a future, but I also wanted to travel and have cool life experiences and go on trips with my friends. Like I equally wanted that stuff just as much as having big ambitions in business. But going into it when, you're in your early 20s and you don't know anything about really managing yourself if you've never fully worked for yourself. Like I always had business ventures. It was just entirely different. I'd never even had a real career path, so to speak. So managing myself was a whole learning curve. And I think there was definitely a lot of unproductive days there, unproductive days. So the goal was always kind of two-sided lifestyle, but what work first, like make
Hmm.
sure that it's solid and taken care of.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of people that work for 15 years and then they feel comfortable enough to start a business. So obviously there's not, or I mean, I don't believe that there's one way of doing it for any specific person, right?
Mhm.
Um, because I mean, especially with Instagram and social media, just in general, um, a lot of people they feel bad, like they haven't started yet or something like that.
Right.
Like, let's say you sold your company at 29, right? But then you just told me, okay, there's your business partner that sold it. I don't know how old he was, but 25, let's say.
19 or no, 21.
There you go. So, and there's always someone younger. Like, I'm sure there's somebody in I don't know, Timbuktu that, sold at 15, you know? So it's like, I don't know, a lot of the times people compare themselves, and then the journeys that you're on are just different, right? Like the purposes, how you fulfill your purpose in life is different. I think you mentioned a little bit about, maybe you can elaborate, like that moment when you, a couple years into your brand, where you said like, oh, like, is this product actually helping anybody? And I mean, it's a problem I hear a lot from entrepreneurs, where they need to find purpose in what they're doing to give them the motivation they need to continue on. Um, but yeah, maybe you can speak a little bit about, and elaborate a little bit on that mindset change that you had.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess it's a hard thing to speak to because it's something that
Hmm.
I feel like I know more, like maybe even more subconsciously than I realize. So it's,
Intuitively. Yeah.
yeah, intuitively. Yeah. It's harder to put into words. I think that is kind of the number one thing that you hear about, though, in the entrepreneurial circles, especially younger entrepreneurs. They're like, oh, well, I really want what I'm doing to be impactful and I want it to
Hmm.
change the world and have this great mission. And I think that's all something you should strive for. Whether it's making more eco-friendly products or other things that are impacting people's lives in a more personal
Hmm.
way. But at the end of the day, I think something that I've kind of always thought is I've really connected with the brands that I've bought, like just whether it be a shoe brand or a watch brand. I know we're both into watches. Talked about that. It's like, how can you say that those companies are changing the world,
Hmm.
Like even a shoe company, yeah, there's hundreds out there, or watches. Like, how is it really changing someone's lives? But when a customer really resonates with a product and a brand, I do think that it serves them in a certain way and it's fulfilling that need in their life. And you can always be working on making the brand one step better every day by maybe implementing more eco-friendly things or things like that. But at the end of the day, I do believe that capitalism is a good thing. And I do believe that if you have your head screwed on straight and you make a lot of money, you can do good things with it. And I've
Hmm.
um, given away a lot of money and helped a lot of organizations that I've wanted to help. And whether I do that or the business does that, as long as like everything is ethical, I think at the end of the day, it's all for the betterment of everyone. So it's good to have like charities incorporated into your business and things like that. But it's also just as good as if you make that money from the business and then give it away. Like, what's the
Hmm.
difference? Um, so I mean, sometimes I think like I'm going off on a rabbit trail, but
It's
with
okay.
charities associated with businesses, I'm like, okay, but is that just marketing? Because we live in this age where everyone is very much trying to have a company that is
Hmm.
more personable and like for a good cause. And sometimes I just think that stuff is just a marketing ploy. And I'm like, but what do those people really do behind the scenes? How do they treat their employees? Like, what are
Hmm.
they doing with their money? So
Yeah, I mean, the whole, I guess, like, sort of like Tom's shoes, right? Where it's like they give a shoe away, and I know nothing about them personally, right? It's just an example that came to mind, but like, you give a shoe away to a child in Africa or Asia, I think, and then, for every one that you purchase, and it's like, yeah, like, it's a good idea, and, like, I'm sure they helped a lot of people. It's nothing on them in particular, but at the end of the day, it is a marketing ploy, and it worked very well for them, right? So, um,
yeah,
but people, I guess, devalue a little bit maybe the fact that, like, let's say you start a company and you hired a couple employees, like, you're feeding their families, right? Like, you're, um, giving them what they need to have an abundant life. A lot of people, I guess that, to your point about capitalism generally being a good thing,
hmm
I think I see that across the board. And like, there's just no way that you can be an effective entrepreneur and then not think that capitalism is a net positive in the world. I
right,
don't know. I don't know if you agree with that statement, but yeah.
totally, yeah, no, 100%. If it's like you said, like, I mean, humans are human, so there's corrupted forms of everything. If you're leaning towards the socialism spectrum, there's still corrupt socialism, and you can't deny that. Like, there will always be corruption as long as humans are involved in some form or another. But the goal is to, like, what what ultimately serves the people best and kind of gives the people the power.
Hmm.
And I think that's I really believe that's capitalism. And I believe, yes, there's bad examples of it, but predominantly it has been for the betterment of everyone.
Yeah, and I mean, I generally think there's like sort of a positive sentiment to people that agree with, what we're talking about. Like they're generally, they're not negative people. They have an abundant mindset, they're trying to better themselves. They take ownership for where they're at in life and where they want to go and what they want to do, irrespective of what the general population or people around them are telling them. And they, I guess I like to say, they lead their life with conviction. Um, yeah, it's
Mhm.
just, or at least that's just something I've noticed about people that have that mindset, right? They all
Yeah,
tend to have
totally.
those same qualities again and again and again. So
Typically, they're not waiting on somebody else to solve their problems. They've decided that they're going to do something about it.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
taking
Which, yeah.
like it's called sort of like Jocko Willink, with in what's the title of his book? It's like extreme ownership.
Yep.
You take
Great
full
book.
ownership. Yeah, yeah, it's a good one. He's a funny guy. He's so intense, but obviously he's in the Navy SEALs, right? You got to be.
I love him, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get, yeah, he's definitely a lot. But,
But
yeah,
he's like
that's
a
a,
good a lot, It's like
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
like someone like David Goggins is a maybe like a bad a lot. Like
Borderline.
some people love him. I have some friends that are just they love him. They send me, clips of like Monday morning, get out of bed, like super excited.
Yeah. Stuff
But
like that. Eat
but
the
yeah,
fish, spit out the bones, right?
there you go.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I totally know what you mean. But yeah, I guess like coming full circle to what we were talking about with
Yeah.
brands, like I do think that if you're creating, it's very rare that a business makes a product, serves their customers well, and continues to make good products, even if it's something as simple as a water bottle. And I think when you have a brand that does that, it actually is serving customers in a great way. And there's a lot you can do with that. You can establish charities within the business that are good, or you can just make a bunch of money yourself and give it away. I mean, it's and let people know about it if that's really important for you
Mhm.
to let people know that you're doing good with your money. But like also within the brand, like creating good jobs for people and opportunities for people. Like one of the most rewarding experiences of building the brand that we built was the guy that we hired as a project manager. He was a barista at Starbucks and he wasn't making that much money, even though he was a manager working, retail hours full time, just really not great hours. He started as a part-time subcontractor for us, and slowly he started to learn more and more. And we took him on full time. His name is Gabe Klingman. Actually, you might know him. He works with Ryan Moran now.
Hmm.
Um, so he was at the capitalism conference that we were both at. But so he started working for us part time. Eventually, we put him from subcontractor to part-time employee, and then eventually he became the brand manager for that brand, and he became the operations manager. So he was chief of operations, and he was making sure everyone in logistics was doing their job correctly, that everyone in PPC was doing their job correctly, and he was keeping all the trains running on time. And he was sort of the linchpin that allowed us to step back from the business to
Mhm.
work on the business rather than in it. But the crazy thing is, so we trained him up through that brand and he got really good at it. When we sold the company, he went off and he did his own thing and we gave him, we took care of him obviously during that whole exit process. But then we said, Gabe, if you ever want to be connected to some people to do what you were doing on an even higher level, let us know. And
Mhm.
now he works with the Capitalism Fund, managing, helping to set brands straight within that fund and helping them grow. And he makes, he went from us being able to pay him 3 times what he was making at Starbucks with good benefits to then going on to working with Ryan's fund and doing even better. So it's just, and now he's just like in an awesome place. His career is great, and has a really upwardly mobile trajectory, and the sky's the limit. And it's so cool to be like, wow, we were able to help him through our business.
Hmm.
And that was like by far one of the most rewarding things out of building the brand. So, a lot of good things come out of businesses
So you
if they're
helped them
run.
level up, as they say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, it was all him, right? I mean, it's all up to you, right? But we gave him the opportunity to choose to level himself up. And
Right.
he put in the work, man. He did.
Right. You just set out the red carpet. He did the walking, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess moving along, as you went towards the end, as you got closer to selling the company, what changed? Or like, did you just get to a point where like, okay, we're not going to grow any larger than this, and you started looking for investors? Or did the investors come to you? Somebody reached out, I mean, nowadays people reach out to you through, I don't know, Instagram, you know what I mean? Like, so there's all sorts of stuff, but yeah, how was that dynamic? So,
Yeah. Um, the goal was always to sell the brand. And I think
mm,
most people that got into the e-commerce space in that one specifically,
mm-hmm,
the goal was like you build the brand and then you sell it and you have some financial stability. Because like, as you know, building businesses can be risky, and there's no doubt about that. But um, so that was always the goal. And what happened was we felt like we were having trouble innovating on the product market, and we felt like we needed a lot more funding to do that.
mm-hmm,
And it was during a time when, oh man, it was kind of at the height. It was, let's see, we sold the brand in 2021. So it was right before the space kind of dipped the year after, when
COVID.
multiple started taking haircuts. Yeah, after COVID, because COVID was the huge boom, and then everything started dipping after 2021. And so we had aggregators reaching out to us, and we kind of knew, like, we were hearing every day about somebody new selling their business, and we kind of knew it was the time to sell. And so I remember talking to Jeremiah and being like, hey, I think we should start entertaining some of these offers. I think we're in a good place, and I think we could get a higher multiple than we think. And
Mm-hmm,
so we ended up starting to take meetings with aggregators. And then I started reaching out to ones that we would like to sell to, because I felt like if anyone was going to take the brand to the next level, it was going to be somebody with funding and a lot of operations experience. And so that's kind of how we went about it.
So you're generally happy. I mean, I know you can't mention who it is, but are you generally happy with who bought the company, and you were excited to sell to them, and you've seen that it's grown after you sold?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we were really happy with who we sold to. And um at the end of the day, we knew we weren't staying involved, so we knew they were going to make their own decisions. They've definitely made some different decisions that I've felt like, oh, like, why'd they do that? They're not getting it to perform as well as it could. But at the same time, like, ultimately it was a good thing, and they'll do what they have to do for it and what's right for them. So, you know, it's it I don't really think of the brand as my baby, because it was never something that I felt like was a legacy play. I felt like it was just part of my entrepreneurial journey. So I never really was like extremely emotionally attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely made it easier.
Yeah, I feel like a question I got a while back is like, how do you deal with the fact, like, I have this massive project that I want to be working on, and then you have the smaller project that can maybe get you there, but it's step
Mm,
one of three, right? And then people get fixated on the idea of step one, which is maybe a smaller, I mean, relatively less impactful in their head, I guess. And they don't realize, like, hey, like, this is, you got 60 solid years, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
this is just your first company. You can do 20. I'm just throwing a number out there, but but yeah, so I guess you're of the mindset of that was step one in the journey, and obviously you already said you're starting another venture, but you're looking to continue to build out companies and continue to grow, obviously.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, it's interesting what you're talking about. Like you said you have this big vision, right? And
Hmm.
you feel like you might have to accomplish some things in order to make the big vision happen. There's things that need to happen first. Um, and I think something that Ryan Moran said a while ago really stuck with me, which was that like you have to realize that this won't be the last great thing that you do. And once I kind of internalized that, it really gave me a lot more peace about it because I put so much weight on that one business. And then I just kind of realized like, oh, this isn't going to be the last great thing that I do. Like as much as I want to attach ego and title and whatever identity to it, like I just can't because, you know, that it makes it harder to make decisions, I think. It's always good to remain objective or subjective. Now I'm confusing myself on the verbiage.
Objective, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, to remain objective to what it is you're working on and try to take the emotion out of it as much as possible because it can really hamper the decisions you make once your pride gets in the way, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm personally a person that thinks things through quite logically, and I hope and attempt to make decisions again objectively and always based on facts. But I mean, there are moments when sometimes you just got to go with your gut, right? I mean, there is the flip side of it.
Yeah.
And I have a particular proclivity towards being very logical and such, but something that I've been working on is like, okay, sometimes you just need to trust your gut with what you want to do, where you want to go, and it's a valuable thing that which I actually find that sometimes men struggle with it more than women just because of how we are. But I don't know if you found something have a similar thought, but yeah.
You mean sort of with the business setting, like just being very attached to certain outcomes or something?
Well, not just being attached to, let's say you have a decision to make, and yeah, you have all the hard facts, but you'll never have all the facts. So sometimes you got to trust your
Yep.
gut with how there's two good decisions. There could be four decisions. One's terrible, one's about medium, and there's two good decisions. So obviously the facts maybe get you to the two good decisions, but then maybe your gut tells you the final decision. I don't know if that's something that you have found to be true.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. Cause you can, like, I'm also very analytical and I try to
Mhm.
know everything there out is about something before I make the decision. But like at the end of the day, you can only know so much. And ultimately, you do have to go with your gut. And sometimes it's going to be wrong. But like over time, you learn more things subconsciously and you internalize more things than you realize. So you do have to sometimes trust your gut at the end of the day,
Mm. Yeah, and
even with all the facts.
it's all part of the journey, right? Like I mean, you're much more prepared for your next venture with after you've finished up this one. So, um, it'll be one step above, hopefully, for you.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully. I mean, thanks, man. I appreciate that. But I'm also like well aware that this next business that I'm working on starting right now, this next brand could fail. And that's okay, right? Because then I'll learn something from it, you know?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, being okay with failure is like number one. You open any book about this stuff, and being okay with failure, I feel like, is first thing that people need to get comfortable with. And also just realizing, well, not only realizing that failure is not necessarily failure, but then also that net failure is an essential part of the journey, right? Because I feel like oftentimes people think that there's a safe path, but in my experience, there is no safe path. There's just a path, and
yeah.
every day you wake up and make a conscious decision about what path you want to make, and there isn't necessarily like my point is every path is risky, so you just need to pick the one that you want to go down. Um, Nailing
Yeah.
that down is difficult. I have found, but
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, dude, that's so well said, honestly. I mean, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying in the beginning when we were talking about network marketing. Like, anytime you're doing something different that deviates from the path, people are gonna throw shade on you for it. Like, if it's different than what your social circle is used to, you're gonna get crap for it.
Yeah, and
And
that
so
goes back to, you are who you're friends with too, so
yeah, for sure, but it's like, what if somebody in the entrepreneurial circle wanted to suddenly get a really solid, prestigious career through education? Everyone in the entrepreneurial circle would be like, "Why are you doing that?" And they would be like, "Well, that's what makes me happy." But it's like they'd be like, "Yeah, but you don't wanna do that. That's the system."
mm.
It's like just reversed or something. But yeah, it's
That's
just kind
funny,
of
that's a good point. It's like, I mean, I vehemently, like, think that the world would be a better place if people just followed what they genuinely wanted. Like, what was sounds maybe a little cliche, but, like, what's genuinely in their heart, and, like, what they genuinely wanna be doing on a day-to-day basis. Um,
Mm.
and I guess there's no right path, I think, personally. So,
Yeah, I agree because you're gonna have failures and mistakes the whole way. And Andreas, you actually got a very prestigious education at a really well-known college, right?
yeah, yeah, I think, well,
Was it at Harvard? Or I don't know if that's something you like to talk about on the podcast.
that's fine, yeah, no, I mean, I got a graduate degree at Stanford, in engineering,
Okay,
and
Stanford.
yeah, yeah, and obviously it's an amazing place, like, uh, definitely changed my outlook on a lot of stuff, um, and everybody there wants to have some sort of startup, right? There's a very much a hustle, like, they call it the Bay hustle, because everyone's trying to always trying to, it's like it's difficult to make good relationships because everyone just wants to look for their business partner, or look
Oh, really?
to get ahead, you know what I mean? So it's like a known thing there in the Bay, but, in
Really?
the Bay
So
Area,
startup
yeah.
culture is really big coming out of Stanford, depending on what you go to school for, I'm guessing?
I think it doesn't matter what you study, right? Like, there's just some club or something that you can join. There's, what do you call those, incubators that you can join. There's, like, it's, like, the university wants companies to come out of there, right? Like, that's one of their main things that they push. And there's seminars, there's a bunch of stuff that you can join, and then, and they're in Palo Alto, which is, like, right where Facebook, Apple, all these big companies, tech companies are at, right? But,
Yeah.
and a lot of people I know graduated and went to work for one of those companies. But I had a good friend that was working at Google, and he's like, "Man, I need to get out of here," right? Like, it was just, and he's at a point where, and, maybe that's a story for him to share, but, where he sort of feels just as trapped in a job as anybody else. But, right, even if it's a very prestigious, and I'm sure, he's, doing fine economically speaking, but, without but I'm digressing. I
No, it's
guess going
interesting
back,
though.
yeah, it's an interesting little subculture there in the Bay Area. It's really interesting, but
It's
yeah,
fast.
yeah, I mean, Stanford's definitely an interesting place, and I obviously don't regret going to grad school there. I mean, I learned so much, and it expanded the way I thought and the way I process information, and, like, I feel like my engineering degree will definitely help me in my entrepreneurial journey, right? So it's something that'll always, um, it's something that'll always affect the way I make decisions. It's part of who I am now, right? So,
Yeah.
I maybe, when I started on my journey, I was thinking, oh, like, maybe I could have started younger, right? Or something, like, if, why did I go to grad school? I could have just started a business younger. But then, whatever it is, wherever it is that I go in life, like, it's going to be forever affected by that experience I've had in life. So I guess I've had a
Mhm.
change of mindset, um, through,
Absolutely.
throughout the past few years. So,
Yeah, well, it's like you said, there's no right path. So it's like the experiences that you've had are ultimately going to make you who you are, and there's going to be a lesson in each of those experiences. Like one of my business coaches used to say, "What's the gift?" no matter how bad the situation is, like, what's the gift? And, that's, like, something I think about a lot is, like, everyone's journey. Like, I know entrepreneurial groups tend to demonize college, but at the same
Mm,
time, there's a lot of really successful entrepreneurs that went to college, and there's a lot of successful entrepreneurs that didn't go to college or didn't finish high school. It's like, is one better than the other? No, because who knows what that person would have been had they had different experiences. Like, you just can't quantify all that stuff.
yeah, like imagine Elon Musk never did physics, or what physics I think is what he studied. Like had he
Yeah.
not had that experience, like I'm sure he would have been fine. Like he's a smart guy, obviously he could have figured it out. But
Yeah.
but maybe he wouldn't have exactly the same mindset or exactly the same experience that he needed to do what he's all the amazing things that he's doing now. So
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's just like what is right for that person. You can never, like it's like I sold the business and thought I would have it all figured out,
mm,
right? But I'm still figuring it out, and I still feel like I'm just getting started. So it's like that's going to be a process of a life for the rest of my life. Like I thought if I become a millionaire before age 30, I'll have it all figured out. But I definitely don't. And I definitely feel like very far still from reaching a lot of other goals. So it's like, yes, I'm very happy with how my life turned out and I feel very fortunate. But at the same time, it's like I'm still figuring it out, and I by no means think I'm, like, any better than anyone else, you know?
mhm.
So, it's like I feel like getting more comfortable with that process has generally made me happier as a person and feeling like I don't have to wait until I get to this certain thing in my life in order to be happy.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a little maybe it's a little deep, but I feel like as I've gone through my journey, I've realized more and more that I personally maybe make the decision to believe that things happen for a reason. Like that's just something I consciously choose to believe every day, and that's generally made going through life easier, right? I mean, and you get to a certain age when you realize, oh damn, like my parents don't know what they're doing. They're just they're just as
Yeah.
clueless as us, right?
Yeah,
And then
it's
you
scary,
level up
honestly.
to yeah, definitely, then you level up, and then you realize, okay, like now I finished college, let's say, then you start your first job or something like that. And you're like, oh my like people in college, like people in business also like in just 9 to 5 job, like they don't know what's going on. And then you look at you start running a business. There's always somebody that's like an even bigger business that knows even more than you. So there's just I guess it's the
Yeah.
point is there's a journey and somebody at 30 closer to our age is just different than somebody at 40 or 50 and like there's just a progression in life of how you grow and how you move forward. So
For
it's just
sure,
a
man, and
process.
there's so many examples of people starting really successful businesses later in life, sometimes even in their 60s or 70s. So it's like you're never going to stop growing and you're never going to stop figuring it out. And I think that is what tends to make the journey fun. Like you said, like if you can just kind of enjoy the journey of it all, because like I'm constantly comparing myself to friends that I know who have, uh, you know, just
Mhm.
40, 50, 100 times the net worth that I have. And
Mm.
I'm just like, "Ah, I've barely even made it. Like, I'm not, nothing." But it's like, then I'm devaluing the experiences that I've had and what I've done. And so it's a delicate balance, right? Because you always want to be pushing for something, but also just happy with where you're at. And I think oftentimes, no matter where you're at career wise, like the happiest people are those that are just really embracing the everyday in life and what they're doing. And like you said, just being happy.
So going back to what I was saying about accepting that things happen for a reason is just I feel like everything happens for you when it needs to happen.
Mm.
And maybe that's venturing into like a religious area or something, but I feel like regardless, like it's a good way of thinking, and it's something that's brought me a lot of peace, and it's, let me relax and go into my flow, like you said, and then sort of just ride the journey, right? Like, instead of being anxious all the time about like where I'm gonna, when am I gonna start this business, or when am I gonna do that, and when am I gonna do that? It's just like, hey, like
Yeah.
I am where I am supposed to be right now, and it's sort of like having, it's like, well, it's just faith, right, in the universe and God, and however you choose and whatever you choose to believe, right? So,
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Because there's always that process of faith in the journey. And even now, like I sold the company, right? Did some investing. I have been looking for the next thing to start for the last 12 months. And like, and maybe I know too much for my own good because I would look at a business and be like, that doesn't look good. But I thought that I would just find something immediately and start it, and that would be that. But it's like there was a period of a few months where I had a lot of anxiety just around starting the next thing because I didn't have it yet. And, like that's my identity. I'm an entrepreneur. And I had to learn to sort of uh, like be okay with the process and like disassociate from the ego of it and the pride of it, and just be like, okay, it's going to take more time than I thought. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be fine just because I don't have a business right now that I'm not running. And so, there's been a lot of like learning because it's hard. It's
hmm
really hard to find a business that you want to start and then have it be successful. Like, and I'm remembering that going through essentially starting over again. Right. So it's, yeah, I had a mentor who I talked to, and he just kind of gave me some really good advice that really put me at ease with it.
yeah, I think it's easy well, again, I'm gonna get a bit esoteric, but it's like it's very easy to identify with what it is that you do, Like, I know I was just mentioning, and that I'm an engineer, right? Like, there was a while there where I was like, that was my identity. I'm an engineer, right? It's like, how can I do anything
Hmm.
else if I'm not an engineer? Like, I defined
Yeah,
myself as a man, as an engineer, and like maybe hit a point where like you defined yourself as an entrepreneur, but it's like we're all just here on a planet spinning around the solar system, as they say.
yeah,
And you can't you can't define yourself. And that's just ego attachment, that's like, yeah,
right.
if you've ever read some sort of like Buddhist things and such. But
Hmm.
I think it's definitely something that a lot of people go through. So like you grasp at trying to define yourself instead of just letting yourself be you.
For sure, man. I totally agree. Like you're not your work and you're not your title and your status within society. You're you and you're how you love people and how you love those closest to you, your friends and your family, and how you treat people. Like that's what defines who you are and your character, not your status with your career success or, all those things contribute to a happy life and contribute to a different side of life. But like, yeah, I really don't think that stuff is what defines us, and it's not who we are. But it's really easy to forget. And the reason I'm thinking of this so much right now is because I just read this book called The Ride of a Lifetime, and it's Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, the Walt Disney Company for the last 15 years, and or maybe more, I can't remember. But he was saying in that book, like leading one of the most influential brands in the world, who is one of the biggest like media outlets for the world in terms of creative content and things like that. And he was like, my wife would constantly remind me at certain stages of my career that like, that's not me. That's not who I am. I am a father and a husband, and I'm somebody who has friends, and how I treat my friends and family and who I am to those people is most important. And it was just like, man, like if the CEO of Disney is saying that, like how much more does that apply to, to me, So
Yeah, I think
it
it's
just kind of really makes you think.
definitely, man. And I think, and I have noticed that it's maybe, more so for guys. Like, we tend to define ourselves a lot by our work. 'Cause
Yep.
we want to produce, we want to bring something of value. Like it's very important for us. Like we sort of can't just exist as easily. Like we need to produce value. That's like it's in our DNA, right? And so then
Yeah.
it's much easier to then fall into the trap of defining yourself based on your work. Um,
Hmm.
and
Performance, things like that.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
For sure, man.
I'll have to read that that book, and I'll put it in the description and such, so for any listeners. But
It's a good one. It's a good one.
for sure, for sure. But yeah, usually, is there some way that people can reach out to you if they wanted to, or maybe a website, or if you have any socials and such that you wanted to share? I guess now now would be a good time. So
Yeah, I guess I don't really have much of a personal brand right now besides Instagram.
mm,
So my Instagram is Justin is roaming, which roaming is spelled ROAMING, like traveling. And that's pretty much it. Justin is roaming. That's my Instagram. And sometimes I mostly personal stuff, but some business stuff as well.
awesome, awesome. Yeah, and whenever you do a launch, I can throw that in the description as well, and maybe people can find you through that as well in the future. So no worries. But but yeah, man, thanks so much for joining me. It's been an awesome chat, and maybe we can do it again in the future. You can give it a little bit of an update, but yeah. So thanks so much, man.
Absolutely. Oh, I think I just lost my one of my AirPods. The perfect timing. But hey, thanks again for having me on. Really cool to hear what you're up to and just to get to know you more, man. It's been great.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.